Okay, welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners. Commissioners check-in for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. It is 1:40 p.m. We're waiting to try to get the live stream going. It's not going, so we're going to record this and post it later. So we're getting a little bit of a late start. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. Vice Chair Commissioner Fournier and Commissioner Klaus are on Zoom. To my left is Commissioner Carolina Mejia and Commissioner Rachel Grant. County Manager Leonard Hernandez and Assistant County Manager Jennifer Walker. We have public virtual attendance available on the Thurston County YouTube channel, but that's not happening. So it'll be posted later to our YouTube channel. Written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of this meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. First up is typically reports on external boards, but because of some timing issues with staff, we're going to jump to a commissioner item regarding the Log Cabin Road TRPC. I think this is Commissioner Grant's request to have a discussion. So County Manager, should I turn it to Commissioner Grant, or did you have something to say up front?
We really don't have anything to say. We'll turn over to
Commissioner Grant. What did you want to
say?
Yeah,
I just I'm bringing this back for discussion for our board at the request of the chair of the Transportation Policy Board. Just that, we went back and forth kind of on, I'll just say this, that I actually just read what our Thurston County position was. And based on what I was given by our staff and the kind of the thing that they keep going back and forth about is that Pete Komet had said in the Transportation Policy Board meeting that we need to keep, this is what Pete said, is that we need to keep the Log Cabin Road line in the plan in order to keep, you have to have a goal or something to mitigate later is kind of how he explained it, that we can't just take one thing out and leave the study in there and take the line out, take the actual project out. That was kind of what we were going back and forth about, is that it seemed like it was going to be one or the other. And that, Chair Ryder was like, go back and talk to your jurisdictions and come back. And I was like, please, I will, because I don't know what to do,
Thank you. And I brought this item a couple of weeks ago after the TRPC meeting. And so I guess I'll clarify what the TRPC position was. And the one that I voted for, and it was in support of removing the actual project, the Log Cabin project, but keeping the studies in. And this was based on advice from staff, but also the fact that the Olympia City Council removed the Log Cabin Road project from their transportation plan, but they have kept the studies piece in their transportation plan. And so we have never the TRPC has never kept something in our regional transportation plan that has not been requested by a jurisdiction. And at this point, the Olympia City Council has requested that the Log Cabin project is removed, but that the studies be kept in. And so that was the TRPC recommendation, which is the Olympia street connectivity studies are the ones that need to be kept in. And so wanted to give kind of that background from TRPC.
And I'll give you even deeper background just for the sake of discussion, because this did pop up like, I want to say 4 years ago. Same thing. I was getting all this correspondence from neighbors and I didn't know what it was. And I checked in with, at that time, Olympia City Council members about, what is this all about and what should we be doing? The LBA Woods was an area that the folks that live around there rallied at a certain point in the past, quite a while ago, to save and create a park out of an area that was going to be developed. So there's a lot of investment by the community members around it because they did this big fight and they won. And now every time this project comes up, they think that it's going to backslide for this big victory that they had to save the woods and create the LBA park. So I do understand when those types of things happen, there's an understandable emotional investment in not wanting to see something you thought you won and you have to fight it for it again. So at that time, I think the same thing was done, which was that the project, I didn't remember about removal. I remember Jim Cooper was one of the people I was talking to, and he was like, don't worry about it. We basically backburnered it, or like however he phrased it. They deprioritized it or dropped it way down. So even though it's still there for purposes of planning or potential funding, it's not anywhere near the top of the list. So that kind of at that time, that kind of cooled everybody down, and I didn't have to worry about it too much again. So when it came back up again, I was not sure what had happened. Did it get back up the list somehow, or so that's kind of what I knew coming into this whole thing.
Well, the project is, if I may,
Yeah.
the project has been on the regional since the 90s. And City of Olympia did move to remove it from their transportation improvement program. However, it is deemed a regionally significant project. So because it's deemed a regionally significant project, which is in the briefing that the county manager sent, I believe yesterday, it kind of outlines that just unilaterally pulling it is problematic, because if that project, when the modeling was done, if that project isn't done, let's say, that has impacts on the county's Yelm Highway, that like it has impacts on other roads in the area. And so the conversation, and I think the agreement that was had with the City of Olympia was, it's going to remain on there. Here are the additional studies that need to be done. And when those done, those will help inform what next steps are and what the projects will be. And so this is going to come up periodically as the RTIP is updated. And so staff's recommendation is that they would both remain on. I think the staff recommendation that Commissioner Mejia received candidly was because we had people out, and the person that we had there did not provide the most accurate information.
Clarify, because your email here that was sent out says our recommendation is in alignment with TRPC's position. And so TRPC's position very clearly stated of removing the log cabin project, but keeping in the rest of the studies.
And I think that when this was written and drafted at the staff level and the TAC, that had been the ongoing recommendation, not the new recommendation that came forward when you discussed it. That's my understanding.
This came out June 16th, yesterday.
Yeah, this is your new language.
Yeah, it says our recommendation is in alignment with TRPC's position.
And you're saying TRPC.
But
TRPC's position, the one that I voted on, was to keep the Olympia Street connectivity studies and the rest of the studies, but remove the project and move it into more of the study section instead of keeping it in the project section.
Thank you for clarifying.
yes.
That's why it's gotten really confusing for me, because I'm like, but I would say too, that I think that the conversation that, as I sat and listened to Andy and to Pete Komet and to these others who obviously know that whole background, and that their point was, that what Jennifer just said, which is that there were all of these other things that Thurston County had to do on Yelm Highway and Lacey had to do out on College and Ruddle, and they were required to make all these adjustments. And City of Olympia, if we remove that project, they still do the study and then show us. I mean, I think that's the point, is that we're all in agreement that they're going to do the study, but then we just have to trust that they're going to make the adjustments to whatever part of the roads are theirs to do. And what Pete is saying is that need to leave the log cabin road project in there because essentially that's a line item that's connected to dollars. That this is how I read this, is that
I'm getting clarification.
that it's a line item really connected to dollars and that it's essentially the City of Olympia's dollars that need to fix whatever is, like, it shouldn't be on us to have to mitigate what they said they pay for log cabin road. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Because it's a City of Olympia project and the City of Olympia doesn't even have it in there. So there's no dollars attached to the log cabin project because City of Olympia, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. We can't force them to do it. And that's been like the whole conversation for many years about this project is that at the end of the day, it's the request of the city to remove this, to go forward with the Olympia Street connectivity study, which needs to happen regardless. Because that's really going to inform them on what process it is. And it can be log cabin, it can be another alternate route. We don't know that, they need to complete that. But from there is what the council is saying that they're going to move forward with. The log cabin road project was something that, you know, we did our improvements based on that study, initial study, and the fact that Olympia was going to do that. And then I believe City of Lacey, and that, I think that's where the frustration for Mayor Ryder comes through, is that they also did improvements to their, I'm not sure which road they did improvements on.
Something that connects up to this.
Yeah.
Something in there that connected up
Not
to the.
Herman, I'm not sure which, but they did improvements based kind of on that.
Yeah.
The City of Olympia didn't at the time move forward with their log cabin improvements, and they have not since then. And we're at a time where the study needs to be updated. And so I think the recommendation from TRPC is let them move forward with the study. The study needs to happen anyways. It is, log cabin project is not on the City of Olympia's transportation plan, but the study is. So let's support kind of what this jurisdiction is kind of pushing through. And so, yeah, I think getting clarity on both from staff on how we move forward with this, and I think getting clarity for the two members who are sitting both on TRPC and the Transportation Policy Board from the commissioners would be great.
You have a meeting tonight, correct?
No,
I thought you said you had a meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, but we're meeting before we come back from break.
Oh, gotcha.
We
Thank
both
you.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fournier, any insights, opinions, questions?
I'm just listening. I don't have a dog in this fight. You know, this is well without my district, and I'm just listening to you all provide information.
Okay, fair enough.
Staff's recommendation was to keep them on both. The way that it was written, though, was confusing because TRPC council voted, it sounds like, to remove from our tip, but keep the studies.
I guess I'm hung up on the element that you said about how TRPC generally will not have something on the RTIP that a jurisdiction is not putting forward. I mean, I understand maybe they can because it's regionally significant and it does have ripple effects. But if that's been the kind of standing rule or policy and Olympia's removed it, that's kind of where I would lean toward just kind of going with that, sticking with that consistency, and then everybody can, it seems like Andy should call up, you know,
Trust
Dante
it.
Payne and, or, you know, I mean, they can lobby the city of Olympia to change their mind about that if that's what they think they're making a big mistake. But I don't know that we would like sit there and overrule city of Olympia and say, well, you don't want this project, but we want you to do, we're gonna force you to do it because it impacts our, you know, and again, that's a fair position potentially, but that's where the study comes in. If the study showed there's no other way to mitigate, you know, traffic impacts, then that's maybe a position I could get to, but it's not a position I sit here right now knowing what I don't know to say, we're gonna make Olympia do what they don't wanna do.
Well, then it'd just be ongoing conversations with the study when it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the dynamic is, as Commissioner Mejia mentioned, that that road's upgrade is part of folks' plans for how traffic is going to work its way through. You're right, it is a city of Olympia's decision whether or not they're gonna do it, but if they don't, it affects decisions that other jurisdictions have made, counting on the fact that circulation point would work through.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean nothing else can be done. To what Jennifer just said, there is more conversation that will need to be had about, if not this, then where are we gonna direct folks? So that there's not a bottleneck created.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think we'd have every right to call our Olympia leaders and say, we don't agree with your decision.
Sure, sure.
But
It sounds like we need to do some more studies, and again, our apologies that the language was confusing. Thank you for flagging this, Commissioner, so that you got clarity. I really appreciate you bringing this to the full board. And thank you, Commissioner Mejia, for helping us understand what the vote actually was from TRPC so that we could provide clarity.
this is a weird one, and I do appreciate it, Commissioner Grant, because this is a weird one where you've got TPB, which flows up to TRPC. So it's odd to have the county, you know, saying one thing in one meeting and another thing in another meeting, but that can easily happen because you guys are kind of like parts of the same structure, you know? And I can't think of any other set of committees that kind of works that way. So it's good to have coordination in this particular context in particular.
Well, the one thing, and I will just mention this, we asked Robert Vanderpool in the meeting, like, when are they gonna do the study? And he's like, well, we've really way down the road, sort of a thing. And, I guess that was the other question that I had, kind of like, well, I mean, based on the information and that I was given by, by Jennifer and her team, that, that the Yelm Highway is roundabout will fail if we don't do something by like 2030 or 2050 or something like that. And so just making sure that, that they're gonna do something, at some point.
This is in their work plan. What Danny said at TRPC is that it is in their work plan. They plan to start the study. I believe it's like 2028, 2029.
Okay.
Danny did answer that question on when they're planning to work on it. So it is on their future work plan to complete. And this is one where I've had history with it because I've been in the piece where I've kind of voted to keep the project in beforehand, but at the time when we were voting for that, Olympia still had it in their plan, in their transportation plan, given the fact that they don't longer have this specific project in their plan, but they have the connectivity study. I think that a regional plan should align with
That's
a jurisdiction's,
Okay.
I think you're right. I think I voted to keep it in the plan only after Olympia had assured us they dropped it down in priority or whatever, but they didn't take it out.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know from somewhere, I can maybe have my assistant like research it, but you said it's been in there since the 90s. I would like to know when the LBA Woods community fight happened and when that park was created. Because that, I think I personally, there has to be some measure of respect to those types of community battles and how they land. And if that happened after the fact, then, so if Olympia made, if it was in there, if this was like a plan, here's how we're gonna mitigate traffic. And then this big fight happened. They decided to create a park there and have a whole community structured around decisions that were made after. Well, they just kind of undercut that plan right there. And that would be relevant to me in terms of how I would view the, propriety of removing it at this juncture.
Commissioner Mejia, for clarity,
Mhm.
did the council take an action?
Yes,
So there was an actual action
Yeah.
taken?
we voted for it, but then it goes down to Transportation Policy Board, right?
Voted for the RTIP?
No, we didn't vote for the RTIP. We voted to remove the log cabin project,
Thank you.
but keep the other components of the project, which were the studies.
And so the big discussion was just going back and forth on whether we were going to uphold that or not. And then the final discussion really just said, let's all bring it back to our own jurisdictions and talk about it. And come back with the vote. So, I mean, I would agree with you, Ty. I mean, if just asking my opinion that I believe that, You know, I think one thing that kind of threw off that whole conversation was Robert kind of threw it, I mean, so knowing that Danny had said it's in there, that helps because Robert kind of said, I don't know, kind of a thing where which, you know, I think it was just a kind of off the, wasn't a great way to respond, you know, because he didn't really say when it was gonna happen. It felt like it wasn't important. When it was gonna happen, when the
Okay.
study was gonna happen, and he was like, it's just not our priority. I mean, he just kind of like
Sounded
made
like
it
could
sound
be-
like it could be forever, you know, and so I was like, I think that really did make some questions happen, but anyway, but I would agree that, you know, the people of that area really have worked hard to, you know, it was a community action effort and
Hello?
I'm okay taking it out.
Hey.
Wait.
She was having some chest pain,
You're not muted.
so they were.
That's his new thing that happened last night too. But so I think that, you know, I'm willing to take, I'm willing to uphold what TRPC, you know, voted for to leave in the study. And then we would just expect that in 4 years or however many years that Olympia would do their study and that they would make adjustments to the roads that would alleviate some of that work on ours. And if they don't, then we make a
An
stink about it.
argument that, hey,
Right,
this
I
needs to
mean-
be redone.
Yeah, if not this road, then you need to come up with another.
Right, they've got to do, because they do. I mean, there's gonna need to be that. It's gonna be,
You don't want, you know, other jurisdictions' infrastructure to start to fail to its design because another jurisdiction hasn't done what they need to do.
And they're all, I mean, that's a region of the county where, you know, they're all kind of interstitched in a way, you know.
And the
Tumwater's-
value of TRPC, that it's a regional plan.
Yeah, Tumwater's on one side, Lacey's on the other, and the county's on the bottom, right?
It jogs around, right?
Yeah, it's like we're in a ring around Olympia right there.
yeah.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, I'd heard there was some revisiting
Equity.
of the equity
Yeah.
thing. So where does that stand with
So,
PIPP?
Just to get some clarity on that, are we okay moving forward with both Carolina and I being in agreement that we're going to remove Log Cabin Road and leave the study in?
I am.
I don't see, and Wayne's not doing anything, so, okay. It looks like we're good, so I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Equity, so the exact language, right here, I wrote this down because what was said was by Chair Ryder was that I don't feel comfortable with regional planning organizations making decisions that may have a financial impact on other jurisdictions. And he is referring to South County. So his argument was that he's worried about leaving the equity language in there because, because it could affect the, you know, a 2030 project, capital funding project or something for South County. Now, I went and looked it up and that's not real. This is just a plan. And so any money that goes to certain jurisdictions does not get wouldn't get adjusted by this is just a plan. So it doesn't actually affect people's individual funding. So that was my research that I came back with. But I wanted to he also asked us to bring that back to our council. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Are you wanting to keep equity language in the TRPC or in the regional transportation plan or remove it? And I want to keep it. I'm just gonna say it that way. And
Was it only equity or was it the climate? Because those were the two items he wanted to remove last time. Or is he just focusing in?
I didn't write down climate, but I'll look at my notes really quick. He really only talked about that, about the financial impact of, you know, thinking that we might lose funding because we leave equity in our plan. We didn't have a climate conversation.
I don't, I think that the requirements that have been asked for are federal overreach. Probably not legal, based on legal advice that I've gotten at other committees. And also a moving target. So even if we try to comply, they'll just move the target on us and come up with some new stuff. They're also misstating the law in certain ways. So like, and I don't know if this is what you have to do in this context. In the IT context, they want us to sign certifications that actually are misstatements of law. So to sign something that you're going to comply with, that's like not like legal, you're basically, now you're hemmed into where you're creating legal liability for yourself on either side. And I'm not willing to do that when I think that these are not appropriate exercises of federal power. So I personally would not support making the removals.
Yeah, I'm stunned the same.
Wayne?
I really like the way that Commissioner Messer put it. You know, I think that it is true that these are moving targets. So, you know, even if you were to make a good faith attempt, and I think actions speak louder than words. So sometimes these words that we put out are more performative than actually substantive. That being said, even if you were, in my opinion, to remove these words that are offensive to someone out on the other part of the country, it would just be there would be another target that would pop up. So I agree with the moving target thing. But just philosophically, I think actions speak louder than words, and whether those words are included in our documents or not, our values are something we lead with, and that's in the, equity is in the DNA of our community. So, there you go.
Right, I have clarity there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, then back to the top, County Manager. Thank you. Let's go back to the top of our agenda, which is reports on external boards and commissions. I don't know if anyone's got one they need to discuss besides, obviously the one we just did.
City Transit.
Sure.
Just a heads up, we will receive a report out tonight from Intercity Transit on the study that was completed. And this is to see if we need a roundabout or not. Many of you remember we received some public comment about this last year.
Down in Lacey somewhere?
Yeah, but it's the county-owned road. We received public comment about it last year. And Intercity Transit went through a study to see whether a roundabout in that area would be needed or not. And so just wanted to make everyone aware that Intercity Transit is providing a presentation.
Some of the community members didn't want a roundabout, is that?
Where at?
1 sec. It's
Deep Lacey.
Off of Martin Way and close to Deutero, right?
Oh, I know right where that is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I live.
Don't say that too loud.
it's a project.
I was about to say, don't say that too loud, Commissioner Grant.
I know you got
You weren't here for that public testimony.
some constituents that are not in favor.
Lacey doesn't want roundabouts, and Olympia doesn't want an extension of Log Cabin Road. Noted.
So, yeah, more to come on that, and I'll report out, but I believe that the county manager is working with Intercity Transit to try to have a presentation to the board
Yeah,
as
we'll
well.
get you a briefing as soon as we get back from recess.
So
Okay.
that's the only thing that is coming up that report on.
Commissioner Fournier, any external board reports?
Nothing that I haven't already given. I attended the Tenino Chamber of Commerce meeting today. Good meeting. They're gearing up for Oregon Trail Days. And if you go online and buy their merch today and use the promo code Chamber30, you'll receive up to 30% on all merchandise.
All right.
I just have a quick one.
Yeah.
I attended Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging today, and I just want to announce just a couple cool things that are happening for our senior community. One is that they have purchased this telephone platform called Mon Ami, which is now being used by Senior Services for South Sound to do well check programs, and it volunteers are connecting on a regular basis for check-ins with phone calls with all different people throughout the community, and they finally got this in place, and so it's really cool. And that there's a senior farmers market nutrition program where senior farmers where people can go online and fill out an application, and that the card, a card comes and it's preloaded with $80 of benefits, so they can go to the farmer's market. And there are 50 left for people in Thurston County. And so just wanted to mention that. The other thing that I really wanted to mention that's really cool is that we were selected as one of two triple A's in the state to participate in a pilot of the Washington Cares Fund Program. And so I'm sure you guys have heard of this Washington Cares, which is ultimately where you pay into long-term care. And then at some point in time in your life, you can cash out on that and it can help you. And we have been selected as a place to try that, or to actually put that into action. They're hiring, they have a planning director right now, they're hiring a contract manager now, but they ultimately, there'll be providers here and beneficiaries here, and they're gonna actually have a pilot of 400 people utilizing those services, and it's up to 30 long-term care services, so like $36,000 per person, up to $36,000 per person, and it could be somebody who got into a car accident. It doesn't have to be a senior, so it could be for anyone who has now had something happen. It could be for Cooper. It could be for a child, anyone who is now needing long-term care. And if you need a provider or bathing or, any of these community supports for your household or remodeling of your bathroom, things like that, the funding will be available, and they'll be starting to enroll people as early as January 2026. And so just wanted to tell you guys about that because it's really.
Can I ask some follow-up on that? That's
Sure.
really exciting.
Yeah.
So how much did they get? Is it?
They didn't tell me. I think it was like, I don't know, it was a couple million. They said in total between this program and there's another program I can tell you about that they got about $4.5 million. And the other program is that they got an 1115 Medicaid waiver, which is similar to what Choice Health has for social determinants of health, but it's called health-related social needs. And they'll be also demonstrating and getting evidence-based non-medical services to people who are seniors in poor health. And so that is the other thing that's really cool. It's brand new. They are working with Healthcare Authority directly. And so between those two programs, they received about $4.5 million worth of services that will be going out to our community, into our seniors. And so that's really, really cool. Those supports will include nutrition education, meals and pantry stocking, housing, home care, community transition services, and caregiver respite. So all happening in the next 2 years. So very exciting for our community. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Sorry, I forgot to report on one thing.
Can I go back on one?
Yep. Yeah.
This just Linda was sending me, this is like a pretty succinct 3 paragraphs from the Olympia's website regarding log cabin. Because I asked about history and stuff. In 2016, the council authorized purchase of 2 large parcels of land known as LBA Woods. These parcels were originally slated to be large housing developments, but the community wanted them preserved as park and open space, and the developers were willing to sell the land to the city. As part of the acquisition process, the city reevaluated the need for the log cabin road connection through these properties. The need for the road was examined given the change in land use from housing to park and open space. It was determined that the road is still needed, but further down in the future, closer to the 20-year horizon. That's kind of when I was involved. As part of the evaluation of the street connection in 2016, traffic impacts of not building the road were examined. If log cabin road was not extended between Boulevard Road and Herman Road, modeling shows that traffic in 2035 would increase on other east-west streets. So I mean, it's kind of like a summary of the whole thing in a kind of a small nutshell. So like, I would really like to see, in light of that and that history, you know, I would want to see this study, like, what can we do to not plow a road through that park that the people fought so hard to get? And, you know, like it may be that there's no other way and I'll come around to it, but like, you know, I'd have to see some updated data to make sure that that's the only thing that could be done. Cause those people fought really passionately for that.
Well, and you have a park, you establish it, the longer it goes as a park, it's not gonna make it any easier
No.
down the road to then bulldoze.
No,
Right.
So
it's
that's,
like they spent, you know, community resources on acquisition in 2016, and they considered, they're full well knew that there was an impact on the RTIP and the other traffic modeling. They did traffic modeling. I don't know. I just thought that you guys would like to hear that.
yes,
Yeah.
great summary.
Commissioner Mejia, next.
Sorry, I forgot to report. I went to, the City of Olympia had a special work session to hear from district court, as well as it was a follow-up from their initial conversation and relationship with which way they are going to go in terms of their municipal court. And so district court was invited to present. And so they did a presentation on kind of like what it would be like to use chambers for a courtroom. And then after that, district court presented on their services and answered questions from council members. And then they heard from the Olympia Municipal Court judge. And the approach that the city council gave direction to their city manager was to continue in negotiations with the county. And so I know that the city of Olympia will be reaching out to us and kind of continue those conversations. And maybe it's something that I know the city manager is going to be out of town in July. And so it'll probably be something that we'll hear from in August or whenever.
And as soon as we have a interlocal agreement, it's been finalized by the city and reviewed by our legal team, we'll send it to the commissioners for their review.
You said chambers, did you mean Chandler Court?
No, like they reviewed like their chamber, like their council chamber to become
Yes,
like basically to do both court and.
Oh, as an alternative
Yeah.
to doing,
Mhm.
okay, I gotcha. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, questions on that?
we do think that, based on the city's timeline, that something may come before August, so maybe the end of July. It just depends on how the review process goes.
Okay.
But explain that just so that you're saying the chamber, which chamber?
Their council chamber.
Yeah, like their alternative would be to like have court like right here, like their city council chamber, turning it into a courtroom at night or during the day or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
And running
yeah.
court right out of their council chamber because they don't have that other facility anymore.
Not Chandler, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
no, I was
got it,
confused
got
when
it.
you said, I was thinking, I wasn't thinking about, when you
Yeah,
said
yeah.
chambers, I didn't know
Yeah,
you
chamber,
meant
got it.
their council chambers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have that big old room, yeah.
But even that was the modifications that a courtroom would need. They didn't even, parking was also another like big issue with that location. Locate concerns with juries and so there was all these questions of like,
Bringing it
once
to
a,
jury.
yeah, once a courtroom actually, you know, and having to split it both for council, it was interesting to kind of hear them going through all those different scenarios and concerns and.
Okay, so next up is the commissioner items, and the first item here is summer recess. Just a notice to the public.
Yeah, just awareness.
Okay.
And when we come back from summer recess, we have a commissioners' business meeting on the 15th of July.
Right.
And so we'll be reviewing items for the first time that morning, but there will only be one review.
Yep. And if they have to be moved off, they'll have to be moved off. But
Yeah, absolutely.
any other commissioner items? Go ahead, Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a very exciting commissioner item. NACO just announced their 2025 NACO Achievement Award results. And I am very pleased to announce that the Thurston County Fix It Fair won the best in category for the volunteer section. And so that is really awesome. Great job to Public Works and everyone who worked on the Fix It Fairs. And then other honorable mentions, they didn't win the best in category, but they did get achievements for it, was the Thurston County Conservation Habitat Conservation Plan, the QPR Suicide Prevention Program, the Elections and Public Transit Partnership, the Auditor's Election Security Enhancement Programs, the Passport Fair, the voting access at your library, your neighbors, your elections, public health and social services communications, Public Works and Noxious Weeds Landowner Assistance Program, the Fetal Infant Mortality Review Program, the Trail Preservation Rehabilitation Program, the Medical Reserve Corps Recruitment and Retention Initiative, the Health Habits for Food Program, the Workforce Program from Public Health, the Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program, Water and Sewer Utility Consolidation, the Tax Title Community Mailings, and the Thurston County Resource Hub. So congrats to everyone who submitted achievement awards. Thank you to the county manager for making this available for Thurston County staff to participate and for us to be recognized at a national level for the amazing work that is being done here. And so just wanted to, anyone hadn't seen it yet, very excited.
And we'll be, sharing that with our departments. We're really excited that they took time to identify the great things that they're doing within the county. This county has a lot to be proud of. And then we'll also look to maybe bring that forward at a business meeting with the departments so that we can, once we receive the actual awards, the commissioners can issue the awards to departments and we can thank the staff for all their hard work this year.
That's great.
Sounds good. Fix It Fair is cool.
Yeah.
All right, any other commissioner items? Okay, this is the last board meeting until July 15th. So
Woohoo.
you guys, on the other side, we're adjourned.
Did your fireworks? I'm gonna go, he's
Go
coming. I just need somebody to give me the lowdown on it.
We're working to answer the questions that you put in the email.
Yeah.
Stuff around those up.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get
And
that.
fireworks,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
fireworks, we're gonna talk about it. I mean, they really wanna come do a presentation.
Did it, guys?
Probably don't need it.
We gotta get you, we gotta get your people